Coming in on the show, US President Donald Trump has now announced 25% tariffs on India starting 1st of August. Failing to acquire a deal on trade, India will now pay a 25% tariff as far as that trade between India and US is concerned. Donald Trump, the US president, taking to social media platform X, has now announced, and I quote, India is our friend. We have over the years done relative business with India because their tariffs are far too high, among the highest in the world, and they have the most strenuous and obnoxious non-monetary trade barriers of any country. They have also bought a vast majority of their military equipments from Russia, and Russia's largest buyer of energy, along with China. And at a time when everyone wants Russia to stop the killing in Ukraine, all things not good. India will therefore be paying a whopping 25% tariff plus a penalty for the above starting 1st of August. So that is, of course, the latest into India and US trade relationships. Far too long now, for the past couple of months and weeks, India and US have been sitting at a table trying to negotiate a trade deal. It does look like that trade deal hasn't really come through, and US President was warning that India and US trade relations will take a beating going forward if no trade deal will be arrived at, and it looks like the trade deal hasn't been arrived at. US President has now announced a whopping 25% tariff on Indian goods. He says that India has imposed a very high tariff as well as non-tariff barriers, and failing to come up with any sort of conclusive measures on how these tariffs can be lowered for US imports into India. US President there punishing India with a 25% tariff. That tweet, as you can see on your screens, that social media post where US President has very categorically said that starting 1st of August, India will be paying a very high penalty. A penalty for continuing relationship with Russia, which essentially is a testament to the fact that India has so far, remember, for the last 2 years has been buying a lot of oil from Russia. Since many countries imposed high barriers on Russia, India's trade relationships vis-a-vis oil with Russia became better. And US President taking a note of that there and suggesting that India has continued to support Russia even when people are being killed in Ukraine, and therefore India will now be paying a price for it. A penalty will be levied. He's not given any more clarity and information on what kind of penalty will be levied. But what we do know so far, that US and India trade relations so far going forward will be frosty until a trade deal is arrived at, the time limit for which has now expired, because Donald Trump has come forward suggesting a 25% levy will be imposed on any good that will be shipped into US. So that's the duty that Indian exporters will have to pay. What sort of impact will it have on trade relationships going forward? We'll try and break it down for you here in the show just a couple of minutes from now. But let me quickly reiterate what Donald Trump has said, and I'm going to quote his post on social media platform. He says, and I quote, India is our friend. We have over the years done relatively little business with them because their tariffs are way too high and among the highest in the world. Strenuous and obnoxious non-monetary trade barriers. Now, he's not explained what non-monetary trade barriers he's referring to, but he's categorically suggesting that India, for the fact that it hasn't really come up with a trade deal, it hasn't arrived at a trade deal with US, failing, those deadlines which were given by the US will now have to pay a price for it. And that price would be to the extent of 25% on all goods that India exports to the US.